This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. The X-Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern. The show is then repeated in its entirety from 2 a.m. until 6 a.m. on the Talkstar Radio Network, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, and our growing family of broadcast affiliates right across Canada, the United States, Central America, the Caribbean, South America, the Pacific Rim, Australia, Asia, Africa, and Europe. Our toll-free worldwide number is 1-800-610-7035. That is toll-free worldwide at 1-800-610-7035. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, you can always reach us here in our studios by using the MSN address xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. And if you want to listen to past shows of the X-Zone, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year, www.xzonetv.com. Today is Monday, March the 15th in the year 2010. I hope that each and every one of you had a super weekend. It's starting to warm up here in Hamilton, Ontario right now. Wow, we are having a heat wave at 4 degrees. I know for a lot of people listening to us in the southern states, you guys are saying, Rob, 4 degrees, that is cold. Well, up here in Canada, 4 degrees, my friends, is nice and warm. So welcome to the X-Zone. Super that you could join us tonight. My first guest is Dean Tong, and Dean is an internationally known trial consultant and expert witness in cases of divorce, child custody, and contested abuse charges. Dean has authored 3 books, including his critically acclaimed Elusive Innocence, that's available at Amazon.com, which has garnered rave reviews at Amazon.com and a peer-reviewed scientific article published in the American Journal of Family Therapy on the necessity of sexual interest testing when men are accused of child sexual abuse. Dean has been retained as an expert by parents and attorneys in court cases from 47 states and Canada. His work challenges the reliability and validity of well-meaning but misguided child protection workers, therapists, and the like. He has presented at conferences in multiple states as well as Toronto and Saskatchewan. Through his work, Dean has impacted changes in the child abuse laws in Florida. He has appeared on countless broadcast shows including CNN, Court TV, Dateline, ABC Primetime Live, CBS 48 Hours, and Dr. Phil, as well as KABC, WORL, the Talk America channel, and so on. And we are so happy to have with us tonight here on the X-Zone as our very first guest for this new week, Dean Tong. Dean, welcome to the X-Zone.
Well, thanks for having me this evening.
Dean, you and I have to take a 2-minute commercial break. We're so happy that you're with us today because this is a subject that not too many people want to talk about. It seems that it's taboo, and yet it's a very important subject. And we'll continue with our guest, Dean Tong, on the other side of this commercial break. Once again, X-Zone Nation, 1-800-610-7035 is toll-free worldwide. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. For more information on Dean Tong, www.abuse-excuse.com. And if you require Dean's services, area code 813-657 4930. Dean Tong and I will return on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break as we start for tonight, Monday, March the 15th in the year 2010 from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
This is Kevin Randall. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com.
Gibbs A. Williams, Ph.D., is a practicing psychoanalyst, supervisor, researcher, and author in New York City. Much of his life has been dedicated to understanding nature and the uses of meaningful coincidences or synchronicities. His radical and original non-Jungian, non-mystical, non-magical theory of synchronicities illuminates much of the fog surrounding this challenging and perplexing topic. His ideas and manners are fresh, presented in a style that is both entertaining and highly informative. He is also an expert on crisis intervention, specially focused on violence reduction for the police and citizens, mastering anxiety, frustration, and stress without the use of medication, and effectively preventing and treating heroin addiction. Dr. Williams can be contacted at his email address at gwwilliamsny11@aol.com or visit his website at www.drgibbswilliams.com.
Shamanism is recognized as a method to access the quantum level. Mastery of shamanic skills puts spiritual information and healing power into your hands. Path Home Shamanic Art School, a bonded Colorado certified occupational school, has met rigorous state standards ensuring its director and instructors have the qualifications to teach the shamanic arts. Path Home offers its certification program in blocks of study. Block 1, a 5-day intensive, will be held in the beautiful mountain town of Coaldale, Colorado, October 13th through 18th. Registration deadline is September 12th. Experience journey trance, power animals, helping spirits, sacred space, and life purpose. Come discover your power. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, in the magical world of shamanism. Call 303-775-3431 or visit findyourpathhome.com.
With each new extreme weather event or terrorist act, it becomes increasingly obvious that we live in uncertain and challenging times. We all buy car insurance. Why not collapse and catastrophe insurance? Matthew Stein, an MIT-trained engineer and green builder, has written 2 outstanding books to help people prepare, plan for, and deal with everything from minor situations lasting a few days to full-on collapse. Matt's first book, When Technology Fails, is a manual for self-reliance, sustainable living, and surviving the long emergency. This massive book covers the gamut from first aid and emergency preparedness to alternative healing, renewable energy, primitive living skills, and 18th century technologies that could be critical to your comfort and survival in a long-lasting crisis. Matt's second book, When Disaster Strikes, is a comprehensive emergency preparedness handbook and survival guide. When Disaster Strikes is an essential item for every family's go bag. Both books are available at all usual sources. There's a wealth of totally free information posted at whentechfails.com, and author-signed copies may be purchased at mattstein.com. That's www.whentechfails.com and www.mattstein.com. Dean Tong is my special guest. Dean has been an expert commentator for Court TV, MSNBC, Fox News Radio, and WLW in the Michael Jackson case, Kobe Bryant case, and John Benet Ramsey case. Dean, why is Child Protective Services at fault in many cases of legitimate versus fictitious abuse?
Well, Rob, Child Protective Services is charged internationally by the legislatures in the respective countries to protect children at risk and harm's way and jeopardy. Unfortunately, over the last 25 years of my involvement since 1984, they have not done a very good job. Kids have died at their hands. Child Protective Services workers have been convicted of child abuse themselves, most recently here in Florida, a case where a spokesperson for the department was convicted of lewd and lascivious molestation. They have been convicted of covering up documents, forgery, and perjury. Kids have died, like I said, in their custody. And then, of course, my expertise, the flip side, the witch hunts, the false cases, the cases that are maliciously made in divorces and custody battles, or where kids are wrong, mistaken, and it turns out to be something else besides. It's a very well-meaning, well-intentioned, but very misguided agency, unfortunately very undertrained and undereducated to do what they're doing. So therein lies the problem, and this problem is not just here in the USA. It's in your country, of Canada. I know because I was there in a case from Saskatchewan about 10 years ago. In all English-speaking countries, I'll be honest with you. My books have sold in England, Australia, New Zealand, Israel. These are not people that are reading my book under the lamp at midnight for entertainment. These are people that have gotten hit by this agency that has unlimited resources, unlimited power, and wields their omnipotence, especially in front of poor people.
Tell me, why do you think there's a conspiracy happening in what you refer to as the child abuse industry?
Well, I have a lot of anecdotal data, certainly that would apply to CPS and link them to, for example, the mafia, racketeering, influence, and corrupt organization. I think to definitively prosecute CPS on a global scale obviously is going to require informants. It's going to require departmental caseworkers and supervisors, decision makers, administrators from the inside, perhaps that have had enough, have seen enough, have resigned or been fired. And I'm not saying they have an easy job. I mean, with all due respect to CPS, they see a lot of horrific sexual abuse and physical abuse, babies beaten, kids killed. It's got to be an emotionally charging, draining job, certainly one I wouldn't want. But that said, this is their job. They have to do it to the best of their ability. And by God, if they can't, then I guess we need to go back to the drawing board and find out who can. Because the police also have a terrible job of protecting kids, and they don't really want that job. They don't do such a great job themselves in protecting women in domestic violence cases. So, unfortunately, I'm afraid there's a lot of evidence there, and people can just go to Google and type in daycare, sex abuse, hysteria, and they'll get a good picture of what I mean over the last 25 years with the false witch hunt daycare cases from McMartin to We Care to Little Rascals to Wenatchee from the 80s and 90s here in the States. And there was also one in your country in Saskatchewan that I was consulted on. So, again, these are cases where little kids are saying the most bizarre things, having sex on spaceships, sex with Martians, the allegations of urophilia and coprophilia, just crazy stuff that is totally nonsensical. And CPS is not just believing this stuff, but causing prosecutions of innocent people that have gone to prison whose convictions have been overturned by higher courts. So, again, I get back to education and training. I get back to repeal of the laws, most notably the Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act, CAPTA, from 1974 here in the USA, a law that needs drastic abrogation or repeal. We need a felony penalty for false accusers internationally on a global scale. so that when someone knows they're calling a child abuse hotline and they do so to ruin somebody's life, they can go to prison. There have to be laws in place that prosecute child protective services workers when they are working perhaps in concert to try to make a case where one doesn't exist because they're going to get a pay raise. And I might add, Rob, the common denominator here is money. And that's why I refer to it as an industry or establishment. If we took the profit away from the industry, the solution would go a long way towards correcting itself.
What's your motivation for the work that you do? Why did you decide to pick up this torch and carry it?
I got hit firsthand. I was accused of molesting my 3-year-old daughter back in '85 and was arrested for the same and went through a horrific ordeal here in Florida, 10 years of litigation. I had to basically prove a negative. Obviously the state of Florida dropped charges against me, but I couldn't see either of my kids, including my son, who I wasn't even accused of abusing, for a year. And then after that, I had the longest stint of supervised visitation in Florida history, 5 years, where I had to see both my kids chaperoned. So, this is a system that it just doesn't entail these social workers for, in your country, it's known as CAS. In my country, CPS, and it has a different acronym for every different state, basically. But it just doesn't entail social workers. It entails the prosecutors. It entails RCMP from your country, the cops here in America, the judges on the bench, the legislators that are enacting and passing these laws. It's a huge, huge industry. In Florida, just child protection alone boasts a $4 billion budget a year. If you multiply that times 50 states, you've got $200 billion a year just in child protection revenue, that is given to CPS agencies to protect these kids. And if people go to NIS4.org or click on over at my website, abuse-excuse.com, just on the homepage, they will read the most recent statistics that show from 1992 to 2007, there's been a 50% decrease in the incidence of sexual and physical abuse. Well, you don't need a PhD to figure out that if the number of reports of child abuse are remaining pretty much constant status quo at 3 to 4 million per year, but yet the incidence of those alleged crimes is decreasing by 50%, what have you got? You've got false allegations, or you've got unfounded allegations that are groundless and baseless. But yet you have an agency investigating and pursuing these charges against innocent people.
How many people are mischarged or have charges laid against them every year based on any statistics that you may have who are innocent?
That number is a ghost, Rob. That number has to remain a ghost, because if it didn't, then this show would become a reality. And CPS would be the biggest defendant ever in a court of law, prosecuted under federal laws of RICO, for exactly what this show is about, that CPS is basically operating as a conspiracy.
Now, you said a few minutes ago that there was a connection between or a tie with CPS and organized crime. What's that tie, and how did you come to this conclusion?
No, I didn't say that it was tied to organized crime. I said I can link their activities to like that in the mafia, right, which would link CPS under the umbrella of RICO.
I see. I'm sorry. How many? I'm having a hard time trying to understand the scope of this problem. If what you are saying is in fact true, and I have no reason to doubt you. Just a sec here.
ACARE, sex abuse, hysteria. Those 5 words at Google, you'll get a Wikipedia page on the same. That's a good example of what I'm talking about right there.
All right. What are legislators and law enforcement officials doing to make sure that this does not keep happening?
Oh, come on, Rob. This is the fox guy in the henhouse. The legislature's part of it. The Obama administration is part of it. I mean, come on, you've got Hillary Clinton. It takes a village. She's all for in loco parentis parens patriae. The state is the parent. I just wrote an article. I'm an op-ed columnist at newswithviews.com. I just wrote an article published, The State is the Parent Syndrome. Joe Biden, the vice president, authored the Violence Against Women's Act, which is basically a piggyback of CAPTA in 1994 as part of the National Crime Act. That basically allows women to file ex parte restraining orders with no proof and no evidence on hearsay based on a statement of fear of threatened harm. And a guy is separated from his kids, and the woman, and if he emails the kids or the woman, he'll be arrested. It turns criminal. The links here to the liberals, they don't want these laws overturned. They love the money coming in here. It's a huge revenue pool.
All right, but what about the protection of the children? Isn't it possible? Now, you're looking at this through tainted eyes. You're not looking at...
And I am not looking through tainted eyes, sir. I am looking at an objective accumulation of evidence over 25 years. I personally perhaps have the largest library of seminal learned treatise material on this topic than anybody in the world.
All right, let me ask you these questions. Are you a lawyer?
No.
Do you have any legal training?
Yes, I do.
Were you a member of law enforcement?
No. I have law enforcement colleagues who will testify to what I'm talking about.
Were you at any time a member of any governmental organization?
I actually used to work for the very government that charged me in dependency court for abusing my children back in 1985 as a lab technologist.
All right, who was it who levied these charges against you, and what was their motive?
Well, it was my former wife, my first wife, and her motive was custody. Custody, child support, social status as the most fit parent. My expertise in court is to critique and impeach the reliability and validity of children's disclosures when they're making fantastic, incredulous allegations, such as the case I'm working on now, where a little...
It was a terrifying experience.
I thought we was going to go to jail for murder.
That day, we were a little behind, so we worked until it was starting to get dark.
We loaded up the equipment and hadn't driven very far when we caught glimmers of this glow coming through the trees. I urged Mike to hurry up and get up there.
Travis had the door open before we even stopped. As he got closer, I heard the sound.
One of the guys said, "You feel that?"
I really panicked then.
I told him, "Get the hell out of here."
It didn't come directly to me, it came to a deputy sheriff.
I was volunteered right away to tell him what had happened.
Sheriff Gillespie definitely didn't believe it.
He says that we better be certain because we can get in a lot of trouble.
When we went to search the next day, they split us up, and the whole time the deputies asked me, if you just tell us where the body is, we can all go home and get this over with.
We're talking about 100 people combing through the wooded area. Nothing turns up.
All week long, I've been hearing they're going to set it up to make you guys look guilty.
We're a rough-looking bunch then. Some of us have been in trouble with the law before.
And y'all ain't never going to come out of that jailhouse.
We couldn't get out.
I tried to sneak out the back door the day of the polygraph test. I was scared to death.
On top of that, you have media.
I literally would be on 2 telephones at the same time.
We've even got some coots in here now that's coming in and out to see the freak show, as they call it.
Everyone descends.
I just wasn't going to stand there and listen to it anymore.
Granny says, "This is Travis. I'm back. I need help." When I did hear that he had been returned, it was almost as unbelievable as the original thing.
I just looked at my mom and says, "I told you we didn't kill him."
Travis Walton reappeared after several days with a bizarre story about a ride in an unidentified flying object.
People were desperate to explain it away.
Why are you sticking up for Travis for all this time? You know this really didn't happen.
What happened to Travis after we took off in that truck, I can't tell you.
I hated Travis for a long time after this. My whole world just tore up.
But I believe every word Travis said about it. He's never lied to me about nothing.
It's a net negative. We lost our jobs in the immediate aftermath.
And now you're not able to talk about it with anyone because you know that they're going to laugh at you, they're going to look at you like you're crazy.
But if you don't come out and tell your story, somebody else is going to tell it for you.
There's a degree of responsibility. Certainly I have to accept the bad, If I can direct what's happened in a way that I can make something good happen in the world, I'm looking for it.
Order your copy of Travis, The True Story of Travis Walton, today at www.traviswaltonthemovie.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, High Tech with Corey Kay, and every minute of the 24/7, 365 programming of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 712-432-9459, courtesy of TalkStream Live. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 712-432-9459 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 712-432-9459 for the best of paranormal, new age, thought-provoking, sci-fi radio programming 24/7, 365.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program, dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we'll weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic right here on the Mutual Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
Welcome back, X-Zone Nation. Dean Tong is our special guest this hour. His website is www.abuse-excuse.com. And he is the author of a book that's available on Amazon.com. It's called Exclusive Innocence. Now, if you'd like to retain Dean for his services as an expert witness, his telephone number is area code 813-657-4930. That's 813-657-4930. Dean, is it the fact that people give these authorities too much power because of the media hype when it comes to abusive cases with children, and now mums and dads take this power, and instead of allowing the system to use it for the protection of the children, that they're using the power that is given to CPS and other agencies to get back at mom or dad, and in your case to use it in order to basically take all your parental rights away.
Well, I think there's some gender biases inherent with this topic and niche issue, Rob. Most men, fathers, are accused of child sexual abuse, although we have seen a rash of teachers accused over the past 5 years or so. But usually it's men and fathers accused of sex crimes. And but unfortunately, it's natural daddy who's walking away in handcuffs when it's the stepfather or the paramour, the boyfriend, who usually is the guilty party when it happens. As I said, this is a well-meaning, well-intentioned agency. Omnipotence, yeah, they believe they're godlike. They feel like they have the power of arrest as authorities, but they don't. They are very intimidating. Again, they pick on the poor and the impoverished many times, because a lot of cases I get, the state pays my fee because the accused doesn't have the resources to hire me or fight back. So the client or the defendant is considered informal pauperous, indigent or insolvent. But I think a lot of it lies in the laws. These are laws that are created, CAPTA and VAWA, well-meaning laws, again, but they incite and instigate false allegations to be made. When no-fault divorce passed law in California during the Reagan administration in 1969, there was no proof or evidence required to obtain a divorce. The laws took off from there, the abuse laws. The child abuse law in 74, CAPTA, an anonymous phone call can be placed to a toll-free number that your kid is being abused and neglected. You're under the legal microscope, and you're forced to prove a negative. You have to prove you're not the monster you've been painted to be, because that's the way it works. You're presumed guilty. And this is a bass-backwards type of deal, unlike our Constitution, which provides a presumption of innocence. Same thing with VAWA. I'm sorry?
No, I no. Please go on. I'll ask you the question when you're finished. I thought you took a break there. I'm sorry.
VAWA, 20 years later, in 1994, same deal. Statement of fear or threatened harm is all that's required to remove daddy from the picture. What I call in my book, Elusive Innocence, a fatherectomy. And, look, this is an attack against the family. That's what this is. And make no mistake, this is a child protection system. It is not a family reunification system. This agency is charged to protect kids, and they believe that children don't lie about sexual abuse. They must be believed and protected at all costs. If you don't believe me, obtain a copy of their policy and training manual, because it's published in the same. And we're not saying that 3-year-old kids are lying. As an expert, I can tell you that a kid doesn't even have the cognitive capacity to lie until they're 3.5. But most young kids are mistaken. And when you give them gobs of therapy, dolls and puppets and drawings, and they're separated from the accused, daddy, like I was for a year, and there's a lot of coaching, indoctrination, brainwashing, and poisoning mixed in, perhaps by mom, the new boyfriend, mom's side of the family, the kids start to believe what they're fed. They become microcassette recorders and are scripted. And, that's what happens here. So it's the science of suggestibility that kids become victimized by. And I can tell you with certainty that these child protection people, from the workers in the field to the nurses and doctors in the hospitals that are doing the...
Dean, are you there? Hello, Dean, are you there?
Yes.
All right, Dean, now let me ask you this. Where did this system go wrong?
Well, look, I think the system went wrong in 1974 when it passed CAPTA, and it mandated anonymous phone calls. The National Center on Child Abuse and Neglect Data System out of Washington, D.C. was formed. to monitor the tracking of these reports. I don't think that they ever had a clue that 60 to 70% of these allegations and reports would be unfounded. And, you're going to get from the other side, the critics, the liberals, the feminists, that, well, just because it was unfounded doesn't mean he's innocent. Well, that's another problem, because the standard of law to prove you're guilty in dependency or family court, which is civil court, is a preponderance of evidence, what's called prima facie evidence. 51%. In other words, 51 to 49, you're more guilty versus less guilty, or 49 to 51, you're less guilty versus more guilty. In other words, it's a very fine line, a gray area, where a judge can err on the side of caution. So CPS brings their case knowing if they can get a victory, they get funding. I am not lying here. They get state and federal funding if you become a child abuse statistic. So there's a money motivation here, huge money motivation. And if the kid goes to foster care, there's another incentive there, because the foster families are making money. And then, of course, foster care is another complete nightmare, because you have blended kids with blended kids. You have boys molesting girls from different backgrounds and families. I mean, it's an absolute nightmare.
Now, what is your specific role in assisting parents falsely accused of abuse and attorneys?
My role, basically, Rob, is to make sure that proper science is applied to proper law in court by the attorneys. Attorneys are not trained in these cases. They don't get this stuff in law school. Mm-hmm. You won't find my books in most law schools. Certainly I'm not the only author of this topic. But I'm telling you that lawyers don't get this stuff in law school. This is on-the-job training. So there are not a lot of attorneys that really have a clue as to what they're doing out there. And this is not a ad hominem attack on attorneys. It's just a fact. Sure. And, the lawyers will be very grateful to take your money, especially during this recession, but buyer beware. Just because they may be AV, BV rated, Martindale, Hubbell, board certified in family or criminal law, does not mean that they've done cross-examination on a 7-year-old little girl in the witness stand who's accusing you of inappropriate touching. So buyer beware. There's a section in my book, How to Choose Your Attorney. So yes, in a way I'm babysitting, micromanaging the work of counsel. But I also testify on the stand to the policy and procedures to make sure that they are, number one, adhered to by the very agencies that are deploying them, and whether they are abiding by the national policies. For example, my colleagues and I, we go by what's called structured interview, forensic interviewing of children. We do not allow closed-ended yes-no questions. We do not allow guided imagery, let's pretend, or suggestive or leading questions, or reinforced behavior. Good boy, good girl, you did a good job, you helped me a lot. None of that stuff is allowed in an interview. Scripting, repetitive interviewing. None of that stuff's allowed. So that's what I do as an expert, is I critique and impeach the reliability and validity of the DVD forensic interviews of these little kids in court.
What do you suggest we do to fix and reform this child abuse industry or establishment, Dean?
Well, first of all, Rob, I want to thank you for allowing me on the show, because, this is the first step, is awareness of the problem. Once we can, basically afford the public the visibility and gravity of this problem, we can address it perhaps legislatively by implementing and ordering a task force to examine the absolute gravity of this problem. How many victims are there, both children and adults, of false allegations? How many kids actually die in state custody, like Rillia Wilson from my state in Florida several years ago, a kid who was covered up in Miami and was found dead in Missouri? Once the task force comes back with its report, then we can change the laws to both protect kids that need protection and not do an assault on families of witch hunt, catastrophic, hysterical proportions.
It's very scary to sit here and think that a mother who has no other alternative than to use this system or abuse the system make an anonymous call to CPS and have her ex, who may be a fantastic father. And yet CPS will start an investigation, and in most cases, I understand, the father will be facing charges based on the anonymous call, which in most cases is placed by the mother.
Well, look, Rob, I'm not trying to attack mothers here. A lot of these mothers are protective parents, and they're just reporting to the system what their kids are telling them. So they're doing the right thing. But once the system gets their mitts on the case, it takes on a life of its own. It's a whole new life form. And the accused, it's surreal because the accused doesn't know what's happening because, number one, the accused isn't even interviewed by this very system. So by the time the accused knows anything's going on, you're right. He or she, or usually he, may be in handcuffs, may be indicted by a grand jury, and is basically having, like I said earlier, having to prove a negative, having to take tests like the ABLE screen, ABEL screen.com, to show that he doesn't fit the profile of a child molester.
What is the profile of a child molester?
A child molester would be one who shows sexual interest or arousal in children. It would be an individual who is trying to pull the wool over our head and shows the presence of what we call cognitive distortions. Mm-hmm. It would be an individual who shows poor impulse control and lack of social desirability or antisocial personality. Those are the four things we look for in screening or ruling in or ruling out a pedophile, child molester versus non.
I was wondering if you could give our listeners some examples of cases that turned out to be, for the lack of a better word, witch hunts.
Sure. Again, I would encourage your audience to go to Google and type in the keywords daycare, sex abuse, hysteria, and they'll get a whole Wikipedia page on what I'm about to talk about. But it started in Jordan, Minnesota, what was called the Scott County investigations in 1982, and it metastasized like cancer to McMartin, California. My own case here in Florida, which wasn't making national attention yet at the time, to We Care, what was called the We Care, a nursery witch hunt case, Kelly Michaels out of New Jersey. Her case actually became famous for what is known as taint hearings. Those are hearings that I testify at to show that many of these interviews with these kids are contaminated or tainted. And then to Edenton Little Rascals in North Carolina, to Wenatchee in Washington State. And like I said, there was a case up in your neck of the woods in Saskatchewan. The point is that all these cases wound up in the accused defendants being charged and convicted, and yet all of these convictions were overturned later by higher courts of law. But yet the accused, falsely convicted people, had to go through hell, emotionally, financially, spiritually, physically, to get back what they've lost, which they'll never be able to get back. And, these are not cases, Rob, where the Innocence Project has any bearing. These are not rape cases where you have bodily fluids and DNA,
right.
Real CSI forensics. This is he said, she said, what a young child said. And this is all you have. And that's tough because a judge and a jury, like I said earlier, oftentimes will err and do so on the side of caution, on the side of the young kid.
Dean, stand by. You and I have to take our final break. X-Zone Nation, our special guest this hour. My heart goes out to this guy, I'm telling you. And kudos for bringing this to the public and letting them know that there's three sides to every story: his, hers, and the truth. Dean Tong is our guest. www.abuse-excuse.com. And if you'd like to contact Dean, area code 813-657.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything?
I'll be back
well,
on
then,
the other side
meet
of this
Dr.
break.
Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, High Tech with Corey Kay, and every minute of the 24/7, 365 programming of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 712-432-9459, courtesy of TalkStream Live. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 712-432-9459 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 712-432-9459 for the best of paranormal, new age, thought-provoking, sci-fi radio programming 24/7, 365.
Coming soon to the X-Zone Broadcast Network is A Different Perspective with me, Kevin Randall, as your host. We'll be taking a close look at what is happening in the world of UFOs today with side trips into the paranormal. Guests will range from those who are household names to those who have a different perspective on a variety of topics. No topic will be taboo, but there will be tough questions asked as we all search for the truth about UFOs, the paranormal, and those things that excite us. Sometimes we'll agree with a guest and sometimes we won't, but we'll try to keep the program topical. For those of you who like to read, be sure to visit www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com and remember to listen to the other fine programs on the X-Zone Broadcast Network at www.xzbn.net. This is Kevin Randall. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com.
What happened in Benghazi is revealed by Nicholas Genix, author of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. He informs the American people that President Obama deceived them by advocating a strong foreign policy prior to the 2012 presidential election, and Hillary Clinton supported this deception. As the title infers, there is a connection between Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. Ample evidence informs Americans that Obama's early indoctrination in the Quran developed an affinity for Islam, why the Quran is the source of discontent in many countries, and why the Obama foreign policy deception led to poor military action and caused the loss of American lives in Benghazi. Genix provides 36 questions for the Select Committee on Benghazi to validate if Americans are justified to mistrust President Obama and Hillary Clinton. An overview of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi is presented on the website www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com. Afterlife expert Roberta Grimes was the first one to say that dying can be fun. Now her best-selling book, The Fun of Dying, is available in stores worldwide. So if you wonder whether death ends life, how it feels to die, or what heaven might be like, The Fun of Dying was written for you. And if you have always been afraid of death, or if you worry that your life has no meaning, let The Fun of Dying ease your fears and bring new meaning to your life. Nothing said in The Fun of Dying is based on the teachings of any religion. Instead, Roberta draws on evidence to explain how death happens, how it feels, and what comes next. A lot of the best death-related evidence was produced in the first half of the 20th century. When it is put together with recent discoveries, it tells a consistent and amazing story. Roberta Grimes blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Her wonderful book, The Fun of Dying, is available on Amazon and at stores worldwide wherever books are sold. Dean, why is April known as National Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month in the U.S.?
It came out of the Reagan administration, Rob, in 1982. I believe 1983 was the first year that April became known as the Month of the Child, a month where the legislature and policymakers, child advocates, were to educate and lobby for better protection for those kids who are abused, certainly like the little girl Megan Kanka, who was killed, the girl from my state, Jessica Lunsford, most recently became Jessica's Law. I like to do it on the other side, the flip side, where non-abused children are treated as truly molested victims, and what happens to those kids, because I see the same signs and symptoms as kids who have been sexually traumatized and kids who haven't been, but have been treated as if they have been.
In short, how did this case affect your life prior to your exoneration?
Well, it's basically become my calling, Rob. If you asked me in 1985 when I was sitting in jail, facing 25 years to life for something I didn't do in Jacksonville, Florida, that I would be doing this as a professional 10 to 15 years later in the early 90s and thereafter, I would say you're crazy. But then again, I never thought this would be an issue in 2000 America. And from the number of hits on my website, these are not people just bouncing into me and bumping into me. These are people that have been hit, who need help. And I've had almost 1 million hits on my website since 1996.
All right, so what should people...
I think that speaks volumes in and of itself.
What should people do? We've got about a minute left here, Dean. What should people do if they believe that they have been victimized by the system?
Well, certainly start a timeline, a journal or chronology by dates and events in your computer. And it's better to act like an oil change for preventive medicine purposes and act now and seek legal counsel and or get a hold of me, before the ship hits the iceberg and becomes a Titanic.
All right, give our listeners your contact information, please, again, Dean.
Website is abuse-excuse.com. Email Dean Tong, that's DEANTONG at AOL.com. Landline primary phone number 813-657-4930.
Dean, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on the great work that you're doing. And I'm sure there are many people out there who'd like to say thank you. But because they can't right now, I'll say it for them. Thank you, Dean. Take care of yourself.
Thanks for having me again, Rob.
It's my great pleasure. Dean Tong, www.abuse-excuse.com. Area code 813-657-4930. Bill Federer and I are up next talking about St. Patrick's Day as the X Zone continues right here on Talkstar. Don't go away.